Hello and welcome back to Medicine in Small Doses with Dr. Amobi. I'm your host, Uju, and if you are joining us, we know it's been such a long time and we just want to say thank you so much for tuning in once again. If it is your first time listening, then this podcast was put together by Dr. Amobi, who is a medical doctor, a highly sought after health coach, author and speaker. And today's theme, we are reconnecting with our roots through food. Yeah, the flavors, the traditions and memories that remind us of home. So wherever that may be. So make sure you're comfortable and enjoy this episode, and I'll see you on the next one. Okay, so we all know that food is a central part of many cultures and Afro-Caribbean communities. But what we're discussing today is what really is on your plate. What does your plate contain? So straight over to Dr. Amobi, where he shared a powerful story about how a breakfast session turned into a more profound coaching session. So just tell us what happened.
Yeah, so it was quite an experience, actually. So as you know, I work as a health coach. Mm-hmm. And by the grace of God, I have a lot of clients all over the world. But this is a particularly fond memory for me. I traveled to Nigeria. I was invited by a very successful businessman who he typically comes to London for his regular yearly health checkups. But this time, he wanted to organize something for some of his peers back in Nigeria. So he organized this small coaching session, sort of a get-together for his friends, and all of whom are very, very successful, very respectable individuals, actually. So, of course, in preparation, I was thinking about, okay, let's talk about blood pressure, exercise, nutrition, the usual stuff. Mm-hmm. So, but when I got there, we actually went for breakfast, and instead, the whole, the whole PowerPoints I prepared for the talk, I actually had to forget all about it because the breakfast was actually a focal point. There's nothing much better to talk about than actually what we're seeing people back home are eating as breakfast. Mm-hmm. If that makes sense.
It does make sense. Yeah. Okay, so what was this breakfast then?
So one of the most beautiful things about Nigeria, and perhaps most other African countries, is how things is modernized like extraordinarily. I will bet you that if you go to the best hotel in London, let's say you go to Claridge, you'll be able to get a Claridge equivalent in Nigeria today, right? Mm-hmm. And what was striking as well was that some of the food stuff that you will see at the heart of London, you see exactly the same in hotels in Nigeria, right? So I'll give you an example of this hotel, but I'm not going to mention name for obvious reasons, right? So, the layout was like absolutely stunning. So it had like the typical thing you see here, bacon, sausages, eggs, baked beans, pancake, croissant, muffins, right? And one of the really cool things, like this gentleman said to me, "Hey doc, you see, we have everything that you guys have over there in London, right?" Mm-hmm. So and he was like beaming with so much smile and so much pride in his voice. It was a very touching moment, but also for me that was a teaching moment because some of the things that I was seeing on that breakfast buffet were things that we have already started running away from in the UK. Okay,
so what did you do then?
So one of the things, of course, this is a very, very respectable individual. So I started off by saying to them, okay, cool. So everybody put their plate. Everybody like lampooned their plate with so much of their own varieties of what they like. So I asked everyone to rate their plate from 0 to 10 and then tell me why they think whatever grade that they attributed to their plate. So everybody gives similar answers. So people like, talking between them, they go, well, eggs are healthy, baked beans are like healthy as well, brown bread is healthy, at least it's not white, And some of them even said the baked beans is like world class type of beans that people who are typically healthy tend to pursue. So so I said to them, look, for the best person to hear your plate, it's actually I'll rank it like 4 out of 10.
Right.
And then the guy, you should have seen their faces, right? It was extraordinary. When I said that, like, I will rank the best of you here, and I'm not even going to tell you who the best one is, but the best of you here in your plate, I will rank it at 4 out of 10.
Okay, so why is that then?
So, okay, let's start with baked beans. That's how I started. So I said to them, look, I asked them, firstly, so how many of you here can tell me how many teaspoons of sugar is in a half, because the quantity everybody took in their plate is like about half a can of baked
equivalent,
beans.
right? Yeah.
So, so I said to them, how much teaspoons of sugar is in half cup of baked beans? And no one knew, right? They were absolutely stunned. So they're like,
I didn't even know there was sugar in baked beans.
Oh, really?
No. Oh.
All right, see.
I knew there's salt, but you don't really think of... Oh, gosh, right, okay.
Okay, all right. So when I told them that it was, or if I tell you that it's actually approximately 4 teaspoons of sugar.
Oh, my goodness.
In beans.
In baked beans, oh.
Right?
I don't eat beans anymore. Well, so I'm glad I don't. So
yeah, and I'll just probably put it into context with some people who perhaps don't know, and I'm not disrespecting anyone who, for oversimplification. Baked beans is like one of those beans that you put in a can, and then of course they take the outer layer off, put some tomato sauce and whatever else they put in it, and then they put some preservatives, so you can actually have these beans in a can for a whole year. It won't go off, right? So when I told them that they have about 4 spoons, people are like, wow. And like you said, salt, you expect salt to be, because everybody puts salt in their food, right?
Yeah.
So then I said to them, so what about salt? And they were like, I don't know, like, how much would it be? I said to them, well, half in the UK, we are advised not to eat more than 2,300 I think milligram of salt per day. Baked beans, the half of that baked beans actually contains half of the daily allowance you're supposed to have for the entire day. So if we actually count the salt in every other food that they've actually picked and put there, that breakfast actually has covered a whopping whole full day of salt. And the reason we bang on about salt is because salt retains water, right?
Yeah.
It's not good for the blood pressure, particularly in black people. So just those two things alone,
right,
is actually extraordinary. So then I said to them that now when it comes to salt, when it comes to bacon, that adds another like 1/4 teaspoon per each slice of the bacon that everyone, and most people actually have maybe 3 or 4 bacons in their plate, right? So it became an eye-opening for them. So that thing that they're characterizing as quality was actually like ultra-processed, preserved, packaged with chemicals, right? So
which they've substituted for their native
right,
breakfast options, which that makes a lot of sense. And they've seen it through the lens of probably healthy, when it just really is just a British breakfast, not necessarily a healthy one.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
So then what happened next?
So one of the coolest things though, and the chat went into about childhood and stuff.
Yeah.
Right. So everybody was reminiscing about their childhood. This guy was like, when they were young and growing up, they used to walk long distances to fetch water. You have to go and fetch firewood, right? Their yam they eat in the morning, or whatever time they eat it, will be like roasted yam, boiled yam. You very seldom eat like fried yam, for example. They'll have pap for breakfast in the morning. People cook fresh soup with stuff from their garden, right? Everything was
So
natural.
it's organic,
exactly.
it's natural, and you've already done your steps.
Balanced, made by hand, made with that rhythm of culture, right?
Okay.
So it was extraordinary.
So what was your main takeaway from that morning?
Well, the main takeaway is that health is not about eating like London. It's about remembering who we are.
Yeah.
We have equated Western food with progress. But sometimes progress actually means you're returning back to your basics.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's the primary takeaway, that it's not like we don't want you to eat what we see. Right now, we are literally running away from these foods. And of course, these companies have to find new customers. Now they're totally migrating everything to Africa. And now people are now accustoming or experiencing the typical middle class diseases that we usually find in UK or in the US. Now they're exporting them to Nigeria or other African countries.
Wow. Oh gosh, that was a massive, great insight. And I was surprised about the sugar intake, but you're right. It's essentially substituting, what we've always had with a new food, but we're looking at it with the wrong lenses. So I guess that's going to be a good takeaway for our listeners. British is not always best. So what in terms of, our traditional African foods and our genes and our microbiome, in that breakfast conversation, you said something profound. Your DNA remembers. So what do you mean by that, Dr. Amobi?
So that's a very good question, actually. So your genes are like storytellers, right? They remember generations and generations of experiences, including what your ancestors ate.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's what modern science, in medicine, we call it epigenetics. Yeah. So when we eat natural food like yam, palm oil, vegetables, our genes recognize them. But when we replace them with processed food, then our biology start getting confused. And that confusion will lead to inflammation, disease, tiredness, and all the other sort of symptoms people tend to experience, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. So in what ways are the food choices that we're making able to wake up or silence our genes?
So that's a very good question, because your lifestyle and your diet particularly can literally switch your genes on and off, right? Traditional African diets are essentially designed with our genetic rhythm. Yeah. We have high fiber, plant-based, fermented food, natural fats, right? You get natural fat. The commonest places you get natural fat, things like mackerel. You get it from salmon. You get it from avocados, right? So all of this good stuff. So when you eat like your great grandmother, when I used to give these talks, similar talks 10 years ago, I used to say when you eat what your grandmother ate. But most of us in the West now have 2-3 generations, and our diet has extraordinarily changed over time. So when you eat like your great grandparents did, you're giving your body information that it actually understands, because that's the route that your genetics is carrying on over and over, and it got to you, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And also quickly, you mentioned microbiome. How does that fit into the conversation?
Okay. So I think the best
what
way...
What is it?
No, and that's a fair question. My patients ask me these questions all the time. Doctor, you keep talking about microbiome. What is it? So if you think about microbiome as your body's second brain, right? You and I are good-looking bacteria. So our body is full of trillions and trillions of bacteria. They affect your digestion. They have an impact on your immunity, even your mood.
Yeah.
Right? So our traditional foods, like fermented pap, you get your fermented maize, you get your greens, your beans, your herbs. They actually feed those good bacteria. Processed food, like all these whopping amount of sugars that these guys are getting from those baked beans, and all the refined flour, like you get in the bread, actually feed the bad bacteria. So sometimes you get like more of a growth of like bad bacteria, essentially.
Okay. So traditional foods are basically like a natural probiotic?
Exactly. That's probably a much better way of saying it, because our ancestors didn't need any supplements.
No, they didn't.
Their diet kept their microbiome strong, right? Ironically, the world now calls for these foods. Whenever we go to like medical conferences, people keep talking about like superfoods, and trying to sell us back something that has already been there from time immemorial.
Okay, so I know people listening now thinking, right, that is it. I need to reconnect. This is a lot of wisdom. I need to reconnect with this. What can I do to start?
With everything in life, you start small.
Yeah.
I always use the analogy of babies, right? They start small. The time they're going to walk first, they're going to hold on to something, and then they practice, and then they'll be able to stand. They practice a lot more, then they'll be able to walk, and then if they practice more, they'll be able to run. Same thing. You start small. So you replace one processed meal a day with your ancestral dish. So real food, locally grown, cooked simply, right? So you could say to yourself, today, if I look at the can or any packaging of any food that I cannot pronounce the name of whatever it is on that package, I'm not going to eat it.
Right.
That would be like a one-day commitment. Yeah.
Okay, we've challenged you, listeners. So you've heard it here, and okay, that's great, and thank you for that. You also often talk about blending modern medicine with ancient wisdom. So what does that kind of look like in real life?
Yes.
The future of black health kind of, we're going to have to combine all our, what we know.
So I always say I'm probably one of these doctors that I have tremendous respect for modern medicine. Right? It saves lives. Surgery saves lives. Right? I'm sure if the surgeons were back when our great grandparents were alive, it would have been a total game changer. Vaccines are good, life changers. All these diagnostic like MRI, CT scan, ultrasound, chest X-rays, these are phenomenal. Right? But modern medicine doesn't always teach daily living. Right?
Yeah.
Our ancestors had that part figured out much better. The food, the movement, the rest, their faith, and their community. So the future of black health is not choosing one over the other.
Right.
I would say it's about using both, essentially. That makes sense?
Yes. So definitely not about herbs versus hospitals.
No, not at all. It's prevention from tradition, and then precision from the science. We need both. The old rhythm and the new tools. Okay,
so Dr. Amobi, can you summarize the 4 pillars of black health? Just remind us.
I would say number 1, food, and then movement.
Right.
Then I would say your mental health, which would be like your mind.
Yeah.
And then of course your community. Because when you have all of those in balance, we thrive. Yeah. So that's essentially, it. If you eat well, you move. I was talking to a guy a few days ago, and he was saying to me, Doctor, back home, he used to walk like about 2 miles to get to school when he was growing up, right? And then he will, before he goes to school in the morning, he'll warm up the soup from the night before.
Right.
And then he come back from school, then he go to the farm, and then he get his, go get some vegetables, maize, or whatever. Every single thing that he had eaten were from his farm.
Right.
But in order to get to that farm, some people have to walk a lot of distance, right? And these food are good for your microbiome, which is important for your mind and your soul, right? And you feed your community. So when you get to the market to sell these products, people are buying organically farmed products. You know what I mean? So that's how I come up with the food, the movement, the mind, and the community.
Oh, excellent. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. And science now confirms, what our ancestors practiced, right?
Absolutely. I think one of the areas we're going to talk about sometime soon is something I've been teaching over the past couple of years about the new discovery that some African diets may actually surpass the Mediterranean diet that we've been preaching over the past 10 to 20 years as the gold standard.
Yeah.
They're actually finding out that making some small changes in your food, let's say, is actually within a shorter period, it's better than some Mediterranean diet, right?
Wow.
So you're absolutely right.
Yep.
So fermented food is good for your gut health. Things like bitter herbs, phenomenal detoxification,
like pepper soups,
right?
and
So in Igbo there's this leaf, I think it's called nchao. I don't know what other people call it, but they call it nchao. It is one of the most medicinal herbs that you'll ever find. There is, I can't remember, bitter leaf.
Yeah.
Bitter leaf is so phenomenal for people who get diabetes. It can't be understated, right? So it detoxifies. Even palm oil. We're having a bit of argument with, well, not an argument.
It's quite controversial.
It's quite controversial. I think, because it has been part of us like for a very long time. I think some of the ones that we get here in the UK is they're probably rancid, like stay like forever, right? Back then, people were like, cut the palm trees, get the stuff, get it done,
Organic,
all absolutely like phenomenally processed, right? And if you, with everything in life, use it in moderation, it's not going to like cause you tremendous harm.
Okay.
So then you look at sunlight. Sunlight gives you vitamin D, right? And we'll probably do another talk on vitamin D specifically, because I was reading a study not so long ago that black people actually have more vitamin D deficiency, even those who live in Africa, that the sun is like there almost 300 days of the year. But some people are vitamin D deficient. When I actually raised this to this committee of men about vitamin D, what was funny was like some of them was like, I come out of my house in the morning, my driver will park the car in front of the driveway. I get in, they drive me to my car park, and then I get the elevator to my office. And then when they're walking down the street, they're using an umbrella, right? So they're actively fighting off the most natural, in my estimation, vitamin D is perhaps the greatest of all the vitamins. But we're running away from them because of, adopting a lot more of what we describe as Western culture, let's say. Yeah, so everything our grandparents knew intuitively, science is now catching up. Yeah.
Is there also a spiritual aspect to all of this?
Absolutely. Your faith, your prayer, your song, there are actually some evidence that show the people who actually go to churches where people dance are way more fulfilled, because not only people getting a bit of exercise during COVID period, that's what we're advising people. Put music on in your living room, dance, if it's Christian music, dance to it, whatever music that you like. So your faith has, what we call spirituality, science now call it like mindfulness, right? Whenever you get food, you be thankful that you actually got some food that day to feed yourself, and then you pray over it, if that's your thing, and then you get the nourishment that comes from it. And all of this is free of charge. You don't need to pay for it.
Excellent. Okay, so what is your final message to our listeners, viewers?
So I would say, when modern medicine means like ancient wisdom, we don't go backwards, right? We go full circle, because your healing, my healing, begins when we remember exactly who we are. Wow,
Doctor, thank you for reminding us that health is not just science. its heritage, and I'm sure our listeners will be looking through their pantries and bringing out their old herbs and spices and having a traditional dish in honor of this episode. And if you wasn't thinking about doing that, that was your cue to do so. So just remember your roots, because your roots will remember you. Thank you for tuning in to Medicine in Small Doses, and we will see you on the next episode. Well, thank you so much for tuning in today to Medicine in Small Doses with Dr. Amobi. We hope you enjoyed the insights and the stories we shared on today's episode. If you are enjoying the podcast, please do not forget to subscribe. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel, Medicine in Small Doses. If you're listening through a podcast platform, please remember to leave a review. And most importantly, share this episode with a friend via WhatsApp, or any other means of sharing. The information here is useful and I know it can help someone. There is a link to Dr. Amobi's website below for more information. And until the next time, stay curious, stay inspired, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Thank you.